What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and I love it. It's brilliant, brilliant start to the season. Yeah, it's a good win. It's not just a good result; it's also a good performance to go along with it. So overall, I'm very happy. But yeah, just looking as far as like how Tuchel's concerned and the lineup and all that stuff. He's given some faith to a couple of the players, like Chalaba, who showed during preseason, hey, I want to start, and he's given him a chance. Alonso maybe hasn't done enough still for me, but Tuchel still sees something in him, and I guess maybe Chilwell's still not quite fully fit yet. Although that being said, he also didn't play. Like, he didn't come off the bench as a sub, which I found a little surprising. So I don't know if something's going on behind closed doors that we don't know about, or maybe he just really still needs some time to get back up to full fitness before he plays. But based on how last season ended, I would assume that he would be the first choice. But maybe something has changed that that Tuchel knows and none of us do. But as far as the starting lineup is concerned, it's not a bad lineup. Chalaba, Christensen, Rudiger is not a bad back line. Honestly, I feel like any of our back three that you put back there, whoever you do put back there, is going to be solid. I still think, there are a couple of defenders. I don't think Rudiger would be good in the center. I don't think Chalaba would be good in the center. I don't think Azpilicueta would be good in the center. So there are a couple of them that I feel like need to stay out of the center of the back three. But I feel like no matter what three you put back there, you're going to get a good performance. You're going to get players that work well and do a good job of, doing their job, defending. So, yeah, I feel like we're in a good spot right now defensively. You get up into the midfield, and obviously because Conte's out, you've got Georginio and Kovacic, which, again, I'm looking at the transfer people, and I'm saying, okay, we've loaned out Gallagher, we've loaned out Gilmore. Now Conte's injured. We've only got Georginio and Kovacic. Loftus-Cheek, Barkley, I don't trust them in the midfield. And we already know Drinkwater and Bakayoko can't cut it. So what are our options? And I know Mount is another option that we could throw back there, but in my opinion, that's not a good option for us. So I feel like the transfer people have once again kind of put us in a difficult position unless we are still playing and going and getting another midfielder. I know there's a lot of speculation about whether or not we're going to go for Rice. I haven't heard anything about that in a couple weeks, so I'm assuming we're not. But who knows? Maybe we are planning on getting another midfielder, and that's why we look to move on or look to loan out a couple of our young players. But yeah, you have to go with those two because anybody else you put in there is going to have some weak issues. Alonso and Azpilicueta as the wingbacks, not the strongest pair of wingbacks we have. Again, I feel like Alonso is there because maybe Chilwell's not ready, and then Azpilicueta, he's a good player. I love having him on the field, but he's not a wingback. But maybe James isn't fully fit, and I don't know, Hudson-Odoi, again, decent performances in preseason, decent performance in the Super Cup, and then he gets put on the bench again and doesn't get to come on as a sub. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Hudson-Odoi. Sometimes it feels like he plays his way into the team, and then all of a sudden we don't see him again for a few games. So there must be something going on at practice, at training, that we just, we're not going to be able to see or hear about because they're not going to come out and blast a player in the media. Like, yeah, he's just not training hard enough. But I would assume that's what's going on because when he gets on the pitch, when he plays, he looks like he needs to be starting, and yet most of the time he isn't. So something he's doing is not impressed Tuchel. And then the front three, Havertz has had a pretty rough preseason in my opinion. He had the one good goal against Arsenal, but overall didn't really do much to impress in my opinion. And in the Super Cup as well, I really feel like he was one of our weaker players on the pitch. So Mount, Pulisic, and Werner as the front three. Lukaku's still not available, so that's our best front three with what we have right now. Ziyech out injured. Tammy, still not really sure if he's staying or not. Still a lot of speculation going on whether he's going to leave. It's a good lineup. I feel like Tuchel went with what he had, and I will say something that I need to throw out there as a caveat. Palace didn't really play us well today. And I find that, I don't know why, but Palace tends to be that team that we play well against them, we get a good result, and confidence is soaring, we feel great, and then the next team plays us better than Palace did, and then suddenly we're brought back down to reality. Like, okay, the Palace result, we played well, but also Palace did not play well, and I feel like it was true again today. You even go back to last season. Again, I've talked about this a few times, but Havertz being used as a striker or as a false nine, one of the reasons Tuchel continues to do that is because the one game it worked well against Palace, we scored 4 goals in the first half, and suddenly now that seems like a brilliant idea, but it's the only game we scored with him as a false nine. So I don't know what it is about Palace, but they tend to not bring their A game when they play against us, and I will throw that in. They did not really play us well. Now, some of it we did defend well. We did put good pressure, so they weren't really able to string together a whole lot of passes and get any sort of momentum. But it still felt like they could have done a bit more to kind of, I guess, force the issue a bit more. They could have been a bit more, I don't know the word, maybe aggressive. Could be a good term. I don't really know if that would have done much though. But it felt like they were not up to the pace. It felt like we were just moving it quicker. We were pressuring them faster than they could move the ball, and yeah, it was one-way traffic for a lot of the game. So I feel like this result is a good one and the performance was a good one, but also take with it the fact that not every team is gonna let us play as much as Palace did today. So there is that. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good performance. I feel like the team played well together, and pretty much everybody had an overall good performance. But talk about individuals now. Mendy didn't really get called on a lot to do much. Passing pretty much was the only way he was involved in. Again, a couple wayward passes, and it's just something that he's got to improve on. It's something he's had to improve on, and he's not really improving on it. So it's worrying because there were a couple moments in the Super Cup where I'm thinking, my God, we love to keep possession in the back, and this is the keeper that we have to keep possession back there. So yeah, hopefully can improve as the season goes on. But yeah, right now, definitely back to what I remember thinking at the beginning of his tenure here, and that is, I don't know if we need to go back to him and have him use his feet at all. Back three, first of all, talk about Chalobah because I mean, what a game. What a fantastic Premier League debut for him. Because he's impressed. I mean, he's impressed in preseason, he impressed in the Super Cup, and then he comes in for Premier League start. Tuchel gives him, hey, I give you the faith that you're going to go out there and you're going to do well. And he rewards him for it. I mean, really just solid performance defensively, did a good job of keeping everything in check, not really letting any of the front two or three. Honestly, Palace only had a front one most of the time, but anytime it came Chalobah's way, he was up to the task, and he's got good strength, he's got good pace, and then on top of that, brilliant goal. It broke my internet. Like, the internet cut out entirely, and then it comes back on just for me to see that we scored and Chalobah scored, and then I saw one replay, and then it cut off again. Like, man, the shot was so good, he broke my internet here. That's incredible. But yeah, I mean, I love seeing that. I love seeing a youngster come up and show what he can do and really impress in the Premier League as well. So it's been kind of a question that I've had throughout preseason. Watching some of Sarr's performances, I remember thinking like, wow, we've sold Tomori, we've sold Gehi, and we've kept Sarr. This was the guy that we brought in to replace them. But honestly, it may be because Chalobah was coming up and they were saying, hey, this is a kid that we can use, so we don't really need the likes of Tomori and Gehi. And based on his performance today, I would say good bit of business, to make the money off of those players and then continue to put faith in these young players coming up through the academy. And he played well, and he really showed what he could do. So, yeah, all in all, I don't know if he got man of the match. I think he did on the the social media pages for Chelsea. I don't know if he did officially get man of the match, but honestly deserved it based on his performance. Christensen in the middle, very solid, very good at just sort of keeping everything in check. Not always the best at organizing. I feel like I've talked about it a lot. He is not the greatest leader back there, vocally, but today definitely showed out with his overall defensive work. Did a good job of reading situations and getting there and putting in a good challenge. At times that can hurt him, because sometimes he tries to get there and he tries to read the situation, but he's a little too slow. But today, overall, I mean, he never really got beat in those situations. So it was good to see that he seemed like he was up to the pace of it. And then Rudiger, just again, another solid performance from him. A couple of those moments where you're just kind of like, okay, calm down a little bit. But I mean, it's part of his game, and it's something he does to really kind of frustrate the attack of the other team. And then, honestly, sometimes it's nice to have that type of player that's going to get in up in the other players, up in their personal space and really cause them a lot of issues and upset them, basically. So sometimes that can help, and sometimes it can get them mentally out of the game as well. So, but yeah, another solid performance from him. Spilicueta on the right side. He's not really a wingback, but whenever he plays there, I always feel like he's a decent player there. He's a decent wingback. And the main reason is just because once he gets in the final third, his decision making in the final third is not always the best. His passing can be a little wayward. Sometimes his crosses can be a little overhit or not good enough. So he's always somebody that it feels like up until he gets into the final third, he's good. And then when he gets in the final third, suddenly he has no idea what to do. But that being said, some of the link-up play he had with Mount over there really came off well. One of the goals, Pulisic's goal, came from that, little 1-2 with the two of them. So he's getting that side of his game down very well, and that's good to see. And obviously defensively is something that he's always thrived at. So it always provides a little bit more defensive assurance to have a wing back that can also get back and help out. Whereas Alonso on the other side, of course, is not really one of those players. But what I will say for Alonso today is in preseason, I didn't really feel like he was getting involved in the attack enough. I felt like he was getting into the right spaces, but he wasn't really producing. He wasn't really getting that finishing touch. It felt like he would get there and then have a mistake, either a bad touch or bad decision. Today, it felt like he started to make better decisions. And again, part of that may just be because, Palace was giving him a lot of room, so he had time to pick out the best decision. And obviously, the free kick was fantastically placed. But it was nice to see him appear to he played better overall today. He had a better performance overall, and that's good to see because we need, I was saying it in the last game against Villarreal, we need somebody on the left side to push Chilwell more. Because it felt like he didn't really have much of a challenge near the end of last season. It felt like he had that position down, and anytime Alonso came in, he didn't really do much. Anytime Emerson came in, he didn't really do much. So it never really felt like his position was under attack. So it would be good for Alonso to get a few good performances in to kind of say, hey, Chilwell, you got a challenger now. He wants to take your spot. Don't let him. So hopefully that can continue. But unfortunately for Alonso, I always feel like his performances are pretty inconsistent. So this could just be one good performance, and then the next game he could drop off again. But we'll see what happens. In the midfield, Kovacic, again, another slow performance from him overall. I thought as the game went on, he grew into it more. But first half, I don't know what's going on with him because he's generally, again, he's much more hungry most of the time. I see him and he looks like he wants to be involved. He wants to defend. He wants to get on the ball and make stuff happen. And these past couple games, it just seems like he's waiting for the game to come to him. He's watching stuff happen and standing. And then when the game does come to him, he's still watching and on his heels, so he's not ready to react. So I don't know what's happening with Kovacic right now, but I hope he can get it out of his game soon, especially, if Conte, I don't know what's happening with him and his injuries. It feels like as he's gotten a bit older, the injuries are starting to plague him a bit more. So if he's going to be injury-ridden throughout this season, we're going to need Kovacic to step up. So hopefully he can figure out what's going on with him, whether it's a mental thing, whether he's just not quite up to full fitness yet. But I was glad to at least see that as the game went on, he did grow into it more, and he was starting to be more involved and to play with a bit more intensity and pace. So hopefully he can grow off of that for next game. And then Georginio, a player that I still have issues with from time to time. There were still some moments where it felt like he was weak or too slow in the midfield. But overall, he had time to play, so it was one of his better games. Anytime that the other team gives him time to just pass in the midfield and time to pick out a pass, he's generally one of the best players on the pitch. And those are the games where people point out and they're just like, see, he's world class. And then, of course, I point out the games where teams put full pressure on him and he can't get a touch and he gives the ball away and then he passes and assists the other team. And those are the games I'm like, see, that's why he's not world class. But, that's how the internet is. We like to debate and argue and tell each other why we're wrong. But today was at least a good performance from him overall. His distribution was fine. Still wanted to be a bit quicker. I feel like there are some times where he takes 2 touches, but those 2 touches are very long. So it's like a touch and then a pass. But by then, the chance is already gone or the player's already got some pressure on him. So just a little bit quicker, and I feel like that's something that, again, I think Gilmore does better, and I don't know why we loaned him out. And then up to the front 3, Mount, kind of a slow start for him again today as well. I thought against Villarreal, he looked a little bit off the pace when he came on. But I thought today, as the game went on, kind of like Kovacic, I feel like he grew into it. I feel like he started to move a lot more. And just his movement is something that I think really defines him as a player because he's always looking for something to happen. He's always looking to make something happen. If somebody's put under pressure, if somebody is not, they don't have any help, he's going to be the player to give them help because he wants to be involved. He wants to give an option. So his hard work, his tenacity is something that, it makes him hard not to pick. And that's why Lampard chose him. That's why Tuchel continues to choose him. It's why Southgate chose him throughout the Euros. You can't not choose a player that's going to work that hard for the team. So hopefully the next part of his game that's got to come back as well is the finishing, like the clinical nature, because he has that in his game. We've seen it in the past, but today didn't see it as much. I feel like some of his touches, some of his shots were just a little too, he's trying to swipe at it instead of actually putting his foot through it. So, but overall, decent performance. Pulisic started off slow, but then after the goal, I feel like really started to show a bit more confidence, started to really grow into it a bit more as well. He's still a good player. I've seen a lot, I don't know why, but on social media, he is one player that's been called out a lot. And I think part of it is because, again, he was coming in when Hazard was leaving. So a lot of people made that comparison. And again, as I've said many times, he's not Hazard. He's a different type of player. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good as Hazard, but he's very talented. And I feel like he needs to figure out how to use his talents still. There are moments when he pops up, he does something fantastic, he does, some clever trickery, but I feel like his best game is when he's going at pace at players. Like, it is hard to stop him without fouling him because he is so good at quick, in-out changes. And it's hard to stop a player when he's going at pace like that and get the ball because he's very good at poking the ball away. So he's really got to find that part of his game more. Because too many times it feels like he receives the ball and then he slows it down and then he tries to change pace, but that's not really what he's good at. So then the defender just sort of puts their body in front of him and then that's it. So I really hope he can find that in his game again. Because honestly, we need him to be at his best if we want to make a challenge for the title this season. So, and then Werner, just, again, another solid performance. And it's something that people are going to say, well, he didn't score, but, you look at what he does for the team. You look at the pressure he puts on the defense. You look at the runs that he makes. And overall, he's still an effective player. And it's really going to be interesting to see how Tuchel utilizes him when Lukaku is fit to play. Because I feel like Lukaku, you bring him in for that much money, you're going to play him. And I feel like Tuchel wants to play him. But is he going to play Werner as well? Or is it going to be kind of a, you swap them out. You play Lukaku sometimes, but then you play Werner sometimes because they're both different types of strikers. Lukaku is very much a target man, whereas Werner is kind of the get him behind type of striker. I don't know. It's one thing that I'm looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to seeing what Tuchel is going to do and how he's going to figure out how to play a lot of these players. Who's he going to play together? Who's he going to save for certain games? It's all up at the air at the moment, but it's something that does get me a bit excited because I'm watching Werner. I'm thinking he's still effective. He's still good at what he does. Even if he's not scoring, he's still heavily involved. He's still providing options. He's still opening up spaces for other players. So now the Lukaku's coming in, and he's hopefully going to be more of a finisher than Werner is. But Werner's still an option that you can use for other types of games, depending on who you're up against. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what Tuchel does with it. I'm excited to see what, I guess, plan he has for this season. But yeah, for today though, as far as Werner's is concerned, I think the main, I guess the one criticism that I had for him was there were some moments where it felt like, maybe a bit more awareness. The one in particular that I can think of is ball gets sent over the top, makes a great run, but then he doesn't take a look to see if anybody's there, and he goes to square it, and there's nobody there. The nearest person was Alonso about 15 yards back. So just a little bit more spatial awareness of where he is and where the players around him are. Because overall, I mean, he does that part of his game well. He does the runs and all of that. Is the decision making in the final thirds, whether he's just kind of swinging at a shot or whether he's actually looking for a pass. Most of the time, he doesn't make the right decision there, and that's what people focus on a lot. So if he can find out how to, I guess, just take a second and take a breath and sort of process what's going on first before making a decision. And it's difficult. It's not a skill that every striker has. A lot of them, they get in that position and they just sort of let their body take over. So for Werner, unfortunately, when he does that, it doesn't turn out well. So he's got to figure out how to use his brain a bit more when he gets in those decisive moments. But overall, I mean, his work rate is something that I still think he brings a lot of to the table. So overall, for him, good today. The subs that came on, he brought on Emerson and James for the wingbacks, and then Havertz up front. And all three of them, I don't really have anything specific to say about any of them. James, he did okay. He came on, looked to be creative, looked to kind of open up the play out wide a bit more, but didn't really do anything different than what Azpilicueta was already doing. He just provided that option out wide. He should have a bit more attacking flair than Azpilicueta, but it feels like sometimes he restricts himself. And honestly, it's something that I felt like the couple times I saw him playing at the Euros, it's something that I felt like he was doing. And I don't know if it's a coach thing, I don't know if it's a him thing, but he just sort of plays a bit more restricted, a bit more conservative, and he's not really looking to take any risks. And that's fine for a defensive type of player, but at the same time, he has the ability, and we've seen he has that ability in the past. So I don't know why he's trying to rein it in when he should be trying to show why he should start. Why should you pick me? Here, let me show you. So I don't know. It's interesting to see because, I mean, Hudson-Odoi, again, had some good preseason games. Azpilicueta showed today that he's a consistent pick. He's somebody that you can put in and he can do the job well enough. So James should be showing Tuchel, this is why you start me. And I just don't feel like he really did that. I don't really feel like he came on and pushed himself like he could have. Havertz, again, I didn't feel like he had a good game in the Super Cup. Today looked a bit better, but honestly didn't really do a whole lot. He was making some good runs. He was getting involved. But I just feel like he could have provided more. He could have really pushed to make stuff happen in the final third more. Especially, because Lukaku's coming in, this is a chance for him to set up a striker who's going to finish. Whereas when Werner's up there, Werner's more opening up the space for Havertz to finish. But Havertz, I don't know if he's a super great finisher. He has been at times, but I don't think that's his game. I feel like he's better at assisting and at providing for a striker that can finish. Because, he's very good in the final third on his feet. He's very good at opening up the space and finding a chance to put in a good ball and find somebody to score. So I don't know. I feel like today was a good chance to show, hey, performance in the Super Cup, that's not me. Let me show you what I'm about. And it's just kind of similar to James. I feel like he just kind of went out there and did okay, but nothing super impressive. And then Emerson came on super late in the game, so not really a whole lot of chance to do much. So he just sort of went out there and he didn't make any major mistakes, which is good. But overall, again, it's a good game. It's a good performance. It's a good win. I just hope that, we don't take too much from this game because I feel like it's kind of sometimes this game against Palace can be a red herring. It can be like, yeah, we're going to win the league because we dominated Palace and we hardly let them get a shot. And then we go into the next game and the next team is so much more attack-minded. They're so much more aggressive. And we're just like, okay, whoa. Maybe the Palace game was a bit of a red flag or false flag. Red herring, false flag. Put those together, it's a red flag. That's where my mind is right now. But anyways, yeah, obviously some difficult games coming up. Transfer window is still open too, so a lot of stuff happening. Lukaku's coming in. We've got Conte coming back. Silva isn't even involved yet. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to really get excited for. But first things first, I mean, got a tough beginning of the schedule. A lot of top teams to face. So hopefully we're ready for it. I'm excited. I'd love to get all of these wins up under our belt, especially since, there's another title challenging team that are facing nobody at the beginning of their season, faced Leeds and then Southampton and then who is it, like Wolves and then Newcastle and then West Ham. And I'm like, oh, you guys got a tough schedule. Oh, you guys are talking all the crap right now. Good for you. So it would be great to get through this run of games, like very difficult games, and come out with a majority of wins. I don't think we're going to win every single game, but it would be fantastic if we could win all but one or two. So we'll see where it goes from here, but so far so good. And that's about all I have to say about that. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this game? Who impressed? Who didn't impress? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.